I consider them as advancing your business communication skills, integrating your polished American English into some of the skills that are listed on this slide, learning how you can succinctly and effectively comment in meetings. There are a variety of ways that you can do this. Learn different ways you can organize your response so you can represent yourself well in a meeting. Many of my clients want to improve their presentations, improve small talk. Remember, I told you it can be fun. Some clients work on interview stories, and others want to advance their English even farther. The important thing to remember is that my program is individualized. So you can come to a meeting, to a session with me and say, hey, I really need to work on this skill. Sometimes I can say, sure, let me just pull up another slide and we'll get started on that today. And sometimes I have to say, all right, I'll have that ready for you the next time we meet.
So you deal with clients with different language backgrounds. Do you have a lot of your clients who speak Chinese as their native language?
Yes, I would estimate that probably 70% of my clients have come from China.
Wow, that's a lot.
Right. It's an interesting place to grow up, isn't it? And I know that my client, you're very well educated when you grow up in China, and you have terrific skills to offer and help the United States.
Perfect. Okay, Mighty Admin, next slide, please.
So I may have gotten ahead of myself a little bit when I gave you that analogy about running the half marathon. To do something like running the half marathon or advancing your communication, you have to set goals. You have to consistently practice. I told you about that online practice program, which allows you to practice at your convenience on your phone or on your laptop or on your iPad. You want to commit to working on these specific skills at least 3 times a week for 15 minutes. That's not all, though. You need to be thinking about what words you need to add, keeping a little list, and trying out your new skills when you're communicating with others. I recommend that people consider that they're going to be working with me for 8 to 12 sessions to truly achieve your goals. Running that half marathon takes regular practice, and you cannot get in shape in just 2 weeks. Improving your communication is going to take time across numerous weeks or months. But you know what? The good thing about communication is once you've changed it, you've changed it. Unlike running a half marathon, you might be able to do that. Let's say I could get started and maybe do that in October. But if I don't keep practicing, I won't be able to do it in December. But communication, you're always going to have that in your back pocket. The other great thing about communication is once you move it up to this level, you might move it up to the next level, even on your own.
That's a great analogy. So compared to running that half marathon, this this methodology is developing a skill versus just establishing a level of fitness.
Right. It's developing a skill. And maybe you know the idiom, it'll always be in your back pocket. That means you have it. You own it. You've got it.
Right. So I see you mentioned 8 to 12 is typical. So, if they do it once a week or once every other week, that could be either 3 months or 6 months, spreading all those sessions. What about the person who has gone beyond those 12 sessions? Do you have a case where somebody had like some really advanced goals or a broad range of goals and went beyond those 12 sessions. Do you have an example of that?
I do. My client, Claire, grew up in China and now lives in the Midwest. She started and she was difficult to understand. She was determined to improve her communication. It had been suggested by one of her supervisors. We got started, and I think it was probably session 3. She said, I've got an opportunity to interview for a higher level position within my company. I said, and she said, could you help me? I said, sure, I can. Let me pull up some different slides for today. We're working on interview stories. She and I both worked diligently on these interview stories. She learned a framework. She thought of how she could succinctly relate her skills. And you know, in the US, you're expected to brag a little bit. And that is not always Chinese culture, right? Where you are more humble and talk more about teams. But in the US, you have to brag a little bit and point out how you've made some differences. So she had to work through that. She worked diligently. She went to that interview and they were amazed. She indeed did get that job with a great salary, and she is doing a wonderful job. Because we worked so hard on her interview skills, she didn't get as much time to practice on her pronunciation. Plus, because she got that new job, she had some new business communication skills she needed to work on. So we met for about 20 sessions and worked together. She was really proud of herself, and people definitely noticed the difference.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up, that Chinese people don't like to take all the credit, right? So that's sort of the guilt, so they don't want to, appear like they're taking credit for the whole team's output. But Americans don't have any challenge at all with promoting themselves and putting their best foot forward. That's one of the idioms we use, or
Mhm.
getting noticed, right?
Mhm.
Daring to stand out. I think that's a great skill, a great awareness that you can teach people how to be subtle and appropriate, but still get that message across that they were the one contributing, achieving, leading, right?
Mhm. Mhm. I went to a workshop once and learned more about Chinese writing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this writing is so interesting because it's so nuanced and thoughtful. And I love that. But in the US, we want people to get right to the point and we want it very clear. So if you go to an interview and you don't tell exactly what you did and it's not clear, then a hiring person doesn't understand whether you can do the job or not. We know you can do the job. You are hard workers. You've had a superior education. You'll just need to learn to do a little bit of bragging like the US and make things very clear and specific.
Great. Okay, Mighty. Next slide.
All right, so let's look at the 3 offerings I have. The first one is a 1-session program where we look at your goals and needs. I will give you that evaluation that I talked about. We'll write down some goals that you want to achieve, and we can work on one skill. The next is the initial 4-session package. Again, we'll write, if you haven't come to the standalone session, which is no problem, you don't have to, you can just start with this 4-session package. We'll do the evaluation, write out your goals, and get started in session number 1, improving your pronunciation. With this 4-session program, you get the 12-month access to the online practice portal. We will work on your pronunciation of consonants and vowels, industry-specific word, using specific vocabulary that helps you get right to your message, and using idioms. Also working on intonation. That's the melody of your speech, and it carries a lot of information in English. Let's see. Also, I review your homework between sessions, and I often make you a personal video. The third offering is the follow-up 4 sessions. You've already purchased the online practice program. In this next set of 4 sessions, we will still work on your pronunciation and intonation, and then we will pair it with business communication skills. As I said, minimally, you are going to need 8 sessions with me. And most people will want to do 12 sessions. So you can then just buy the third offering again.
Right, so the follow-up is less expensive than the initial because the initial includes the 12 months of access to your online practice program.
Right, right. But don't think that there won't be homework in that, that follow-up program. You will still be using the online practice program, and also you will be making me videos of maybe a short presentation or a short story, so I can review your progress between sessions. We'll always try to make it work-related, so you can see exactly how you can use it, and it will be, very meaningful and useful.